Today is Tuesday, October 8th, 2024, and the board meeting is now called to order. It is currently 6:02 p.m.
We're just pausing for a moment because we may have a slight technical issue.
All board members are present except for Ashley Carson Cottingham. We will now hear from the student advisor, Armstead, who will read the land acknowledgement.
We are gathered today on the land of the Kalapuya, who are represented by the Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ronde and the Confederated Tribes of the Siletz Indians. The relationship between the Kalapuya people and this land continues unbroken to this day, and we offer gratitude for the land and for the generations present and past who have stewarded the land since time immemorial. We respectfully acknowledge and honor past, present, and future Native American and Indigenous students and staff of Salem-Keizer Public Schools. We invite you to join us in honoring these ancestral grounds and celebrating the resilience and strength of all Native American and Indigenous people.
Thank you. Will you please join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Superintendent Castaneda, are there any modifications to the agenda?
No, there are none.
I will turn this portion of the agenda back over to you for spotlights.
Spotlights remains one of my favorite parts of every one of our board meetings, and tonight we have several, and they're quite varied. I am so grateful for those of you who are here in person for us to celebrate you and talk about your many contributions. And so I'll do a quick run of show. Here's how it works. We'll be inviting you up, and then at the very end, we'll meet over there by that whiteboard, and we'll take some photos. All right, so I will actually start. Monica, oh, I see you in the back. Okay, we'll introduce Monica Takata and Sean Kubista from Chavez, and they're going to present the community spotlight. As they make their way up, I also just want to say that this community spotlight is very near and dear to my heart and many of the hearts here as well, and we look forward to celebrating with you too.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair Richardson, Board Directors, Superintendent Castañeda, and student advisors. My name is Monica Takata, and I'm the principal at Chavez Elementary School.
Hello, my name is Sean Kubista, and I am one of the PE teachers at Chavez as well.
Thank you. Tonight, we have the pleasure of spotlighting an incredible organization that has been making a profound impact on our community, the Salem-Keizer Safe Routes to School. Safe Routes to School is a shining example of what it means to prioritize the safety and health of our students. Partnering with Salem-Keizer Public Schools, the program empowers students to walk, bike, or roll to school safely while providing education on road safety, pedestrian awareness, and biking skills. Their efforts go beyond education. Through strategic partnership and with the help of local organizations like the Salem Bike Club, Safe Routes has brought bike lessons into gym classes across our schools, igniting excitement in students, and in the case of Chavez Elementary, boosting attendance. Led by the passionate and energetic Beth Smith, the Safe Routes team has not only focused on teaching students, but also advocating for necessary infrastructure changes to make our roads safer for everyone. For both sidewalks and pedestrian crossings near our schools, their work is reducing congestion, increasing safety, and promoting healthier lifestyles. Safe Routes to School is not just a safety initiative, it's a community movement. We are incredibly proud of the partnership between this program and our district, and we look forward to the continued positive impact they will have on our students and families in Salem-Keizer. Thank you to the Safe Routes team for making our community a safer, healthier, and more connected place for all. Thank you.
Before we move on to our staff spotlight, I'll just pause and say, while it is not a necessity to have to cross the street in an inflatable duck costume in order to get a community spotlight.
It was a chicken.
It was a chicken,
It was a
I'm sorry,
chicken.
an inflatable chicken costume in order to get a community spotlight. It doesn't hurt. And I only say that really to say this Safe Routes team will do everything it can to communicate how important pedestrian safety and wellness is for our community. And this global view of wellness, that it's every kid coming to school, it's every adult that travels with them, it's the people who look out their windows and see our children walking to school. It's the motorists who see all of the ways in which young people are in our community and are extra careful. It's the freedom and joy of being on a bike. This is what holistic wellness looks like. And I just really value and appreciate the Safe Routes team and all of the work that goes on behind the scene to make that happen. So now, if I can, we'll move over to our staff spotlight, and I will invite Chris Moore.
Good evening. It's great to see everyone again. It's been a couple months. Good evening, Chair Richardson, Board Directors, Superintendent Castaneda, and student advisors. It's my pleasure to introduce two exceptional individuals whose contributions have had a tremendous impact within our district and our broader community. Secondary School Counselor Program Associate Amy Abbey and South Salem High School Counselor Ben Handrich. Building on the strong foundation established in 2016 by school social worker Sean Ely, Ben Handrich and Amy Abbey have carefully enhanced our district's suicide prevention efforts. Their collaborative work has resulted in system-wide improvements that address the acute mental health needs of our students and the work of dozens of our mental health specialists across the district. Both Ben and Amy have demonstrated extraordinary dedication to the safety and well-being of our students by enhancing our suicide prevention protocol. Crucially, their work aligns our protocol with the evolving ethical and legal ramifications of compassionately and effectively supporting the acute mental health needs of our students. Their work, which capitalizes on their deep expertise and passion as professional school counselors, was recently highlighted nationally and recognized in the American Association of School Counselors magazine. Here you go, right there. All of you will have copies to two articles that are in this edition, just in case you don't have a subscription to ASCA Association Monthly magazine. The article showcases both the thoughtful and intentional approach they've taken to address this critical issue. placing students and their needs at the center of decision-making. You'll also find another article in this edition by South Salem High School counselor and ASCA trauma and crisis specialist, Ryan Marshall, about the leading edge of crisis response and post-vention work happening in our district. Amy and Ben are not only leading voices in suicide prevention at the local level, but their influence extends nationwide. They have helped equip school counselors across the district with a robust framework for responding to students in crisis, ensuring that our team is prepared to provide the support that they need most. The work they've done to strengthen the bonds between students and the adults who support them, amplifying student resilience, and ensuring that no one feels alone in their most vulnerable moments. Because of their efforts and the collective effort of our counselors, social workers, and psychologists, our school community is more inclusive, safer, and better able to support students and staff facing acute challenges. They've created a next level standard for how we approach mental health and whole human health and crisis intervention in our schools. Ben and Amy are incredible thought partners, and their insights and expertise are sought after by educators not only within our district, but also by school districts across the nation. It is our honor to recognize Amy and Ben tonight for their outstanding contributions to our students, our district, and for their contributions to our national conversation around student mental health. Their commitment to ensuring every student has access to the right support at the right time is truly inspiring.
Thank you, Chris. I'll add on this only to say that one of the most remarkable things that happened from a statistical perspective last year is actually very much about humanity, not numbers. And it's that after the events at South Salem, for the remainder of the year, students' sense of belonging increased over the course of the time that happened. And I just think that this is a function of an incredible team, a team that really knows how to see people, adults and young people, when they are struggling or in crisis, and are able to pull them together and gain the sense of community that is necessary to get through hard things. Hard things are sometimes everyday and they're sometimes profound, but we get through all of them because of the people around us. So I really want to extend Chris's gratitude and just our tremendous appreciation to everything you and your teams are doing. Okay, we will move on to our final spotlight, and I would like to invite Millie Ellen Strayer to share our final spotlight.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Chair Richardson, members of the school board, Superintendent Castaneda, and student advisors. My name is Millie Ellen Strayer.
My name is Angel Perez.
Tonight we are excited to recognize an exceptional individual who has made a lasting impact on our community. For the past 5 years, Angel has been actively involved at the Edgewater Community Garden, working alongside his family to help nurture and grow their garden bed. But this year, Angel took an even more important, meaningful role. At the Edgewater Community Garden, we saw a need to bridge the gap between our native Spanish and English-speaking gardeners. And Angel was determined to help strengthen communication so that everyone felt valued and heard. Angel took the responsibility of proofreading documents to ensure Spanish wording was communicated clearly. He interpreted during gardener and meetings and gatherings and responded in real time whenever there was an immediate need for interpretation. Angel went above and beyond by connecting with Spanish-speaking gardeners who didn't use text messaging to make sure that they received the same information as everyone else. Angel's efforts helped foster a true sense of belonging among all gardeners and expanded access to this important resource. During a recent potluck, we truly felt the impact of Angel's dedication when our garden was filled with gardeners all joining to celebrate the harvest together. We're incredibly grateful for Angel's leadership. In his own words, Angel says that the community garden is important because it brings people together, nurtures relationships, and reminds us of the beauty and sustenance we can grow when we cultivate our shared space. His work is a testament to the power of communication and connection, and our community is stronger for it.
Well, thank you very much. We're now going to meet over here, and we'll take a few quick photos. Staff spotlight. Good job. Congratulations. What? You hired him? Oh, like a little asterisk on it. Staff spotlight always says here.
Now we will move to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Chair. It is October 8th, which means that a lot has happened in the last few weeks. We've opened school, we've had extraordinary moments, we've had challenging moments, we've had public announcements, and so if you'll indulge me, I'm going to catch up because there's a number of things that I wish to discuss tonight. So I'm going to begin with an event that happened last week, I believe, which was the release of state assessment results. And I just want to share a few observations and thoughts about the future as it relates to those results. So first of all, we all acknowledge that assessment results do not tell the whole story of any student, any adult, or of our system. They tell a portion of the story. But I believe the portion of the story that it tells matters greatly. It tells a story of the ways that we can be stronger, it tells a story of the ways that we have gaps, and it tells the story of the way we're progressing. But it only tells that story if we choose to listen to them. So part of my message tonight, but also my message last week, is that Salem-Keizer chooses to listen to that story. Not because we're fearful, not because we're shameful, but because we're focused on the future and progress. And that means that we pay attention to everything that tells us how to be better. Those results were, at best, stagnant for the last school year. But our schools were not stagnant. They were full of activity and effort. They were full of care. They were full of learning. What this means is we have work to do. And one of the things that I want to communicate tonight and moving forward is that that work has already started. Last year, many things were happening, but amongst them, behind the scenes, important things were happening to improve our systems for teaching and learning. First, I just again acknowledge the board's move in establishing a clear set of 5 goals. That matters so greatly because it allows our system to focus on a small number of things that matter. And when we focus and sustain that focus over an extended period, we can make significant progress. The second is we begin rolling out a system that allows us to track progress all throughout the year. We need this because only knowing how students are doing once a year is not frequent enough. And then finally, last year we started what will be a multi-year project. You will hear about it a little bit more tonight, which is the updating of curriculum. We do have core curriculum in this district that is decades old. Great instruction does not happen just because of great materials. But great instruction rarely happens without great materials. Materials that are easy to use, that are right for our students, that set the standard for graduation ultimately in a way that ensures they're ready for what comes next. If we don't have those, we don't have part of the basic infrastructure of teaching and learning. And so we're addressing that. Last year was the first of those big years. We'll be moving forward. By the time we get to the 5th year of an adoption cycle, we will have addressed these gaps. This year is full of steps too. So we're making significant investments in early literacy. You'll be hearing more about that, especially at our next board meeting. It's going to continue because early literacy is one of the goals, but it is also a foundational step to a great start to the educational experience of young people. It's not just reading. It's the certainty that you're in school and you belong there. We're expanding the programs that work. We should be tremendously proud as a state and as a school district that we have one of the largest dual language programs in the country based on size. And it's because dual language works for almost all students. And it works equally well for almost all students. It's a perfect example of something that is universal and specialized at the same time. We grow that because it works. We grow career and technical education because it works. And then finally, we are leading a district-wide focus on attendance, and that is going to continue. Kids learn when they are in school. It is as simple as that. We can care for them when they are in school. It is as simple as that. And we need everyone's help in this. This is what responding to data looks like. It's not a scramble around the data. It's steady certainty and confidence as a system. And I am so proud of us for that. And it starts with agreeing that the data does matter. I'm going to shift gears a little bit, and I want to talk about the opening of school and the feeling of the first few weeks. And I do it with equal parts joy and also strong tethering to reality. So this year when we opened, we did it after a reduction that was the largest we'd experienced in over a decade. And there are so many aspects of that that are in the past, but still very much in the present. And while it is wonderful news, extraordinary in fact, that over 90% of our staff are still working in the building or department that they were working in last year, and that we only have a few dozen staff left on the recall list, there are still hundreds fewer people working for us than we once had. We are all feeling those gaps. I look around this room and I know that there are people in this room that are feeling those gaps. I'm feeling those gaps. Our team is feeling those gaps. We are trying to do all we can with just a little bit less. One of the things that I want to share about this is that even while that is true, other things are true too. I'm in schools, our team is in schools. Their commitment is profound. And the strain is real too. And we get to choose what we focus on. We get to decide how we see and interact with this moment. I had to track down rather relentlessly the apparent person who said the following thing first. We do not see things as they are. We see things as we are. And I believe it was a rabbinical scholar from 55 BC. I offer the date because this has been part of humanity for thousands of years. We choose how we see the world. We can choose to see the gaps and only the gaps. We can choose to blame each other for those gaps. We can choose to say that those gaps are the cause of malice or negligence. Or we can choose to see the commitment and excellence. And choosing one side does not require us to be blind to the other. It lets us choose how to be in the world. And I choose to see our excellence, and I choose to see what can be possible if we work together. I do not choose to say, we're going to do less with less. I choose to say, we are going to do our best with less. It is not an impossible standard. We are going to do our best with less. Less with less only looks at one side of this equation. And I believe we can be more than that. We can celebrate every time we win for kids. We can celebrate every time we see someone around us win for kids. We can acknowledge that things are hard because they can be hard. And we can still be willing to put in the work together. There are amazing things that can happen next for us, but they can only happen if we choose to do things together and see what is possible because of how many things we already have. We have an incredibly dedicated, incredibly skilled staff. We have a community that loves our school system. We have bold and brave leadership on this board. We have total dedication to our students. We have a team that can see a path ahead and wants to reach for it. We can do our best with less. Okay, with that, I have one final thing that I want to close out with, and then I'm going to hand it back to you. In the spirit of we can do our best with less, I want to acknowledge that many things have happened over the last few weeks related to safety that have felt scary and hard. And I want to lift up the best that we are doing. I've heard from both staff and students, and one of the things I hear is that they do not know that there is an entire safety team, an entire adult team that is constantly looking out for them. They do it with skill, they do it with technology, they do it with partnerships, they do it with profound humanity. Jesse's looking awkward in the back of the room, but we are talking about you. They never stop. There's an entire team that fires up at a moment's notice when something happens. And they are taking care of everyone in our system. That doesn't mean that our world is 100% safe. What it means is that we are a place that is doing our best to mitigate anything that is truly threatening and to make sure that people know that other people are taking care of them. We are doing our absolute best. And we're seeing the fact that our systems work. Our systems do work right now, and we keep making them better. And so I just want to take this moment to acknowledge both the very real and scary things that have happened and draw up into the center of the room the fact that we are a system that takes school safety very seriously and does it with an equal balance of incredible heart and incredible skill. Okay, thank you. With that, I will turn it back to you, Chair.
Thank you. Now we will move to the Division 22 Board Report, and Deputy Superintendent Cobb will start us off.
Thank you, and good evening, Chair Richardson, board members, student advisors, and Superintendent Castañeda. As we do every year, we bring you today the Division 22 report. As a reminder, Division 22 is, if we can go to the next slide, please, thank you. Division 22 is a subsection of the Oregon Administrative Rules, and these are a set of rules that are a requirement for schools, just a requirement around curriculum adoption that we'll discuss today, safety, evaluation of teachers, state assessments, and all of the different requirements that the state puts in place for districts to utilize as a baseline of what we do in schools. It is not everything we do, and so that is also an important reminder. There are many other things that happen in schools and in the school system that are maybe not included in Division 22. As the legislature makes decisions, then the Division 22 rules can also change. And so every year we get notice of things that may be changing or may be added to the rules. To give you an example, this year we know we will be asked we will have to report next year on an additional graduation requirement that has a half of a credit for personal finances for high school graduation and also for career path education, another half a credit. So this year, since we know this is going to be implemented as a rule next year, we are putting all of those classes in place so students can access that new opportunity. Another example of the rule is that we have an additional class around substance abuse that needs to be added to 6th, 7th, 8th graders, and then taught one time in high school about opium addictions. And so that is something that we are waiting for because the ODE just sent information and said, here are some lessons that we're going to require for the 24-25 school year. And then as they put out the rules and as they give us information, we move forward with changes at schools. So we wanted just to give you a couple of examples on how those work. And then my partner here, Deputy Danielle Neves, is going to tell us about how we did last year.
Thank you. So each year, our district staff go through a really rigorous audit process to look at the 54 areas in Division 22 and evaluate our compliance with each of the rules. It's normal for a district to be out of compliance on one or more of the rules. Sometimes, like Deputy Superintendent Cobb said, things have changed and we haven't yet built all of the systems yet to fully implement something. Sometimes there are just changes within our schools at a moment that can make us slip out of compliance. If that happens, the districts put together a plan of action to correct that and to move into compliance. We submit that to the ODE, and then we move forward on that plan. Out of the 54 rules, for 50 of them, we were fully in compliance. For 4 of them, we already have corrective action plans in place, and I want to talk to you about what each of those are about. So the first one is about the kindergarten through 12th grade education programs around human sexuality. We had one single alternative program that did not meet the requirements for that implementation last year in the 23-24 school year. This has been corrected, and the program is currently in place at all of our schools, including that one program. We were previously out of compliance with the rule requiring an average of 150 minutes weekly for physical education in middle school. During the 23-24 school year, we implemented our corrective action plan, which included an adjustment to master schedules to ensure all of our schools could meet that average minute requirement, and all schools are now in compliance. As Superintendent Castaneda mentioned, our curriculum adoption, we know that we have in some of our content areas materials that are, as she said, decades old. And so one area that we have been out of compliance on is following the state's adoption cycle for instructional materials. We are working on our corrective action plan. It is a 5-year plan where we are bringing in each year a few adoptions, which really scales the process for schools to bring in new curriculum. For example, in this past year, we adopted new instructional materials for 6th through 8th grade math and 9th through 12th grade language arts. Those are being implemented for the first time this year. We'll be fully on schedule with the state cycle by 2028. And then finally, as Deputy Superintendent Cobb mentioned, legislative action can lead to some new rules. There was a new rule added for the 23-24 school year around health services, and we met all of the areas of these requirements with the exception of one. There is a requirement to meet a ratio of 1 adult to 60 students for staff trained in first aid and CPR. In the 23-24 school year, we had 8 schools that did not meet this requirement. Again, this has been corrected. All of our schools are in compliance, but I do want to make a note that this is the type of situation where retirements, leaves, people moving could impact that at any moment, right? When we're pulling that data on our number of students or number of staff that are trained. We are looking at ways to train more staff to help us stay in compliance regardless of those kinds of changes. But those are the types of things that can make us very easily come out of compliance. But then again, our team immediately goes to work to put us back into compliance. And that is the end of our report on Division 22. Thank you.
If I can add one thing to that, just to give people a sense, when we say curriculum matters and we have work to do, we adopted middle school math curriculum this spring. It was last adopted in 2009. We have high school math. It was last adopted in 2009. Elementary math, last adopted in 2018. High school language arts, last adopted in 1993. I could go on, but this is what we mean when we say our students and staff need excellent and up-to-date materials. This is our core work, and the quality of those materials and our staff's readiness to use them is part of the way we will win and why we are putting so much emphasis on this work right now.
Thank you very much for those reports. It is now time for public comment. Please note that we selected speakers at random. We provided an opportunity for public comment by call-in, Zoom, in person, and in writing. Each participant has 3 minutes. Electronic mechanisms are used for translation. We have a countdown timer on screen for monitoring time. The timer counts down 3 minutes at 30 seconds. It turns from green to yellow at 1 second. It turns red and plays a short bell to signal time is up. Please be mindful of your pace for our interpreters. If the board receives written comment ahead of the meeting, the written comment will be posted on the district website. Tonight, 9 people signed up and have been selected to comment. Our first person for public comment is Melanie Poole. Good evening.
Hi, my name is Melanie Poole, and my job for the school district for the last 10 years is scheduling your district interpreters and your transcribers for the school district. I've worked under 3 different directors at Student Services, 5 coordinators over deaf and hard of hearing students and the interpreters. Tonight, you're going to hear a lot of information. We've been, as you may well know, we don't have a lot of sign language interpreters because of compacting issues that have occurred over the years. Currently, we have 17 sign language interpreters that work for the district, 12 are staff interpreters, and 5 are ongoing agency interpreters. We'll have a need for possibly 2 more in the near future before the school year is over. On average, we typically have between 12 and 14 staff interpreters, but with the closing of the center site programs, we now have 17 in 8 buildings compared to 3 to 4 buildings. Over the years, I've tried to advocate for our interpreters through my supervisor channels and working with the union. And unfortunately, we haven't gotten very far. You'll hear numbers tonight from agencies reaching out to district interpreters offering our equivalent positions for $75 an hour. We've been fighting for just pay ranges that equate with what other state interpreters are making with no response, with resources and guaranteed prep times. When you're interpreting for advanced auto or mythology, or you're trying to figure out what a Dr. Seuss book is talking about, it takes time and energy to figure out what they mean by what their point is. What does the teacher want you to get across to the students? And that all takes time and energy and resources and prep that we are not given. There's a lot to say, and there's a lot of people that are going to come forth to speak with you. So I'm going to try and be as best I can with your time. Advocacy looks like higher competitive pay range in that other staff get. We've never asked for what agency interpreters receive because we know their line of work is a little different. We've worked for the state and we get benefits and we get insurance that they do not. But we have requested compensation that equates to our skill, our education, our backgrounds, and what we offer students. And by providing better interpreters, you'll provide services for our students that will produce better state scores for them as well. So I ask that you listen with an open heart, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you. I'm going to correct it. We have 6 commenters tonight. Our next one is Kayla Graham. Immediately following Kayla, we will have Abigail Eckhart.
Good evening. My name is Kayla Graham, and I am an ASL interpreter currently employed by Salem-Keizer Public Schools. As you can see, my colleagues are here every 2 weeks providing equal access to the community. We are also in classrooms across the district providing equal access to deaf and hard of hearing students. Recently, my colleagues and I were made aware of a job posting advertising a position through an outside agency for the district with pay starting at $75 an hour. This is a gross inflation of what your district interpreters are currently being paid. This isn't the only agency that is partnering with the district to supplement the severe lack of numbers we have this year, and interpreters partnering with other agencies are paid similarly. The district is willing to pay these interpreters at this rate because they cannot fulfill the need the district has or retain the qualified interpreters they currently employ because they're offering district staff rates between $24 and $31 an hour. I, a second-year district employee with 2 prior years of experience, am currently maxed out on the district pay scale. I know several of my colleagues have been maxed out for years, with no consideration for advanced degrees, required continuing education, longevity, or the new interpreter licenses the state rolled out earlier this year. The closure of deaf and hard of hearing center sites has split our already stretched thin team even farther, placing our 11 district interpreters and 1 interpreter scheduler at least 8 different school sites. Myself and my colleagues are choosing daily to care for ourselves and our well-being, or ensuring that our students have the access they need and deserve. Several of us are working outside of our usual hours to ensure students have the same access to extracurricular opportunities with interpreters who know them and are able to provide the consistency needed for specialized activities. In the classified collective bargaining agreement ratified last year, a 4% bilingual differential was included, and interpreters were later excluded from that differential in a later QAM. That QAM is now being challenged through Ask ESP's grievance process. It is beyond insulting that we must continually fight for this 4% increase while outside contractors are being hired at more than double our highest rate. What will the district do when service providers like myself that know and care for these students and take the time to learn who they are and what they need have to choose between working for the district and supporting our families? Our students have lost some amazing interpreters already needing to do just this. What's to stop our district interpreters from leaving and coming back through these agencies, costing the district even more money? I ask that you encourage the district to recognize the grave position we are in before it is too late. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Abigail. Immediately following Abigail Eckhart, we will have Jessica Wilberg.
Good evening, Superintendent Castaneda, Chair Richardson, and members of the board. I was wondering if it's okay if I hand you a paper to pass around. This picture that I'm passing around was drawn by my daughter, who is a 4th grader at one of your elementary schools. She drew it over the summer, a couple months after an incident had occurred at our school where she was cornered by another student who was explosive. In part of it, she wrote the staff member's name and then the word slow. And I asked her why she wrote that, and she said that she felt like the response of the school wasn't fast enough, that she didn't feel safe. My daughter is only 10 years old, and many of you have seen her here before. I'm a parent volunteer. I volunteer at my kids' school. I'm also a substitute. Of course, I'm here to speak just as a parent, but I have seen the response of our school when it comes to discipline, when it comes to explosive behavior in the classroom, and it is slow. I've seen where students are allowed to throw part of classroom for 20 minutes, screaming, yelling, throwing things, hitting people, hitting staff. Like I said myself, I got punched about a week ago with a closed fist, and I have not subbed since that day because I don't see the point. I don't see a quick enough response. I see kids being exposed to trauma at a really young age, teachers not being able to teach because their classroom is chaos. If you were in a domestic violence situation, so you have this Hands Are Not for Hurting proclamation, this is the 3rd time I've heard this proclamation, but if you were in a domestic violence situation and the police showed up at your house, if they told you, well, you should just take a 5-minute break or put on some headphones, that'd be kind of a ridiculous response to a situation that was traumatic. And so I feel like we're teaching children at a young age that it's okay to be in a situation that makes them feel unsafe, makes them afraid, traumatizes them, puts them in danger, and just tell them, well, take a break or wear some headphones. That's not acceptable. As a parent, if I had an incoming kindergartner, I would homeschool them. And so I'm just urging this board to really, truly implement consequences and get back to fast, quick responses to behavior. Don't further traumatize children because their education matters too and their rights matter too. And I speak as a parent of a child who was once explosive, so I do have empathy. But I also understand that it's not acceptable to interrupt the education of many, many children. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Jessica Wilbur.
Thanks.
And then we will have Cameron Eldridge.
Good evening, and thank you for the chance to speak tonight. My name is Jessica Wilberg, and I've been an ASL interpreter in the district for 5 years. I want to put into perspective what outside agencies are costing the district in response to the lack of recruitment and retention of qualified interpreters for our students and community. The lowest outside contract offer, which recently someone was contacted by an agency, an interpreter already working for the school district was contacted by an outside agency, was $50 an hour. And that does not include the additional fees charged by the agency for their services. Using that rate, the district is spending roughly $1,625 per week, and that is just for one position. That's more than half of what any of us make in a month. Since the closure of our deaf and hard of hearing programs and center sites, deaf and hard of hearing center sites, our team is stretched unbearably thin, with 11 interpreters across at least 8 school sites, and one person that's responsible for scheduling all of those interpreters and often compensates for the absences. We also have 4 vacancies and potentially more to come due to the increasing needs for services. Much of our team is adding additional work weekly to provide access for meetings such as this one for the community, as well as extracurricular activities to provide our deaf and hard of hearing students the same opportunities as their hearing counterparts. If this disparity continues, the district will continue to lose interpreters who are connected and invested in their students, their peers, the teachers, and the school environment. Consistency in interpreters is crucial to the understanding and communication access for all involved. After experiencing the recent RIF, I'm struggling to understand how the district is rationalizing spending an egregious amount of funds hiring from outside agencies when they could invest more in their staff interpreters to encourage retention. What I hope to gain from this is simple. I hope you start asking questions, listen to the resources we have about what is best for students, and urge the district to remedy this before it's too late. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Cameron Eldridge. And then we'll have Cassidy Trout.
I'm Cameron Eldridge, but I'm actually going to be turning my turn over to Joey Davis here.
And what's your name, please?
My name? Joanne Davis. Good evening. My name is Joanne Davis. I'm one of the 12 sign language interpreters here in the district. I'd like to start off by thanking you for allowing me to speak tonight and thanking Cameron for giving me his space. Before I dive into what I really want to say, I want to remind the board that the Oregon House Bill 2926 was passed, which now requires us to obtain a license in order to provide interpreting services for your district. To maintain our certification and ODE requirements, we are also required to complete a minimum of 12 CEUs or seat hours per year, which often we have to take on our own time, noting that the district provides reimbursement for those, but not the workshops. To coincide with this, ODE required all of us to be licensed before the start of school this year, and no one was prepared for the cost of the application fee, nor the cost of the initial license, which in total was roughly $300 to $500 each. That was a huge expense, especially after not working all summer long. The reason I'm speaking is because I would like to draw attention to the board. I would like to draw the board's attention to the American Sign Language Interpreter positions and compensation discrepancy due to the large gap the district is willing to pay the agency interpreters compared to the staff interpreters. I had seen a post that I saw a job post announcement by Caption Consultants for an ASL position with a pay of $75 an hour for 7 hours a day. I decided to check out the company to verify that what they were advertising was truth. When I contacted them regarding the job, I saw that when I contacted them, they confirmed the rate of pay they advertised, and they have a current contract with Salem-Keizer School District. While doing my fact checking, I also looked into other school districts and what they are offering for compensation for ASL interpreters. Portland Public School is offering $29 to $38 an hour. Lane ESD is offering $26 to $46 an hour. Salem-Keizer School District, the second largest district in Oregon, is offering $25 to $31 an hour. I'm also a freelance sign language interpreter who works for a couple different agencies. I know that what I get paid is not the full cost of what the hiring entity is actually paying. They will pay my hourly wage in addition to the agency cost. For example, if I make $75 an hour, the agency could also get $75 an hour or more. So the person hiring the interpreter will actually be paying a minimum of $150. This is not including travel expenses. Multiply that 7 hours by 5 days, it's roughly $5,250 a week. That amount right there is more than my gross monthly salary for Salem-Keizer School District. These numbers prove to me that the district does not value our position as certified, licensed professionals. ASL interpreters need to be acknowledged as an essential team member and not just a box checked for complying with the ADA or IDEA.
Thank you. Cassidy Trout.
Hello, Superintendent, directors, and everyone here. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name's Cassidy Trout. I'm a mom in the school district, and I have 2 students currently at McKay High School. I'm gonna get a little teary-eyed because we know that there's a lot going on at McKay, right? We've had a student arrested yesterday with a gun on campus following a lockdown on Friday. Our kids on campus still don't feel safe. We know that it was taken care of. That doesn't stop the rumors from the kids. They still feel like there are threats. They understand also that there are threats on campus every day that aren't caught. They see the drugs being sold and used in the bathrooms. They see the gang violence. My son's been approached at school for wearing a red shirt and asked if he bangs, if he's affiliated with a gang. So now, our kids have to worry about what colors they wear to school. And it's really scary, not just for us parents, but for our kids to be on campus. We know that these issues aren't just a school issue, right? We know that this is a community issue that's surfacing on our campuses. We see it on our campuses, but we also see it every day whenever I drive down Sunnyview to drive my kids to school. We see the homeless encampments surfacing at McKay Park that our cross-country runners have to run through when they're being encountered with, drug paraphernalia on the sides of the road. And I am wondering what we're doing as a school district to work with other outside government agencies to help mitigate these issues, because the school district can't do it all. You guys can't be responsible for what the kids do on campus and off campus. And I know that there are other programs, and I know that you guys try to reach out to other agencies as much as possible. But what more can be done? We have family building blocks right across the street. I don't know how much they're utilized. We know that a lot of these kids are born into this, right? They're dealt a hard hand. And we know it's gonna take a lot more than what schools are able to offer to help the kids get through this. But in the meantime, we have to make sure that all of our kids are safe while they're on campus, while they're at school. And luckily, there's talks of metal detectors going in at McKay, which I'm really hopeful that we can get that going as quick as possible because our kids are scared. They're scared to go to school. A lot of them don't want to go anymore. It's hard to get our kids to get up and go to school. So I know that we want all kids to feel like they belong at school, and we understand that it might deter some kids, but it's going to help a lot more feel safe. So thank you.
Thank you. We will now recess for a 10-minute break. Please return by 7:12. Our meeting is now called to order. Tonight, we have one action item, adoption of the Monitoring Superintendent Performance, BSL 3. As a reminder, we heard a first reading and engaged in meaningful discussion on this item at our board meeting in August. Do I have a motion to adopt the Monitoring Superintendent Performance BSL 3 policy as proposed?
Chair,
Yes.
I would like to move that we adopt the BSL 3 monitoring superintendent performance as proposed.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'm happy to second that.
Thank you very much. Before we vote, I will open the floor for discussion. Yes.
Thank you so much. This year, I was wondering is, I like how we've kind of, in a sense, itemized it, for lack of a better word. As far as the adoption, do we have plans to move forward with the same style? Or do you think that's something that will kind of do more at board meetings and go over and discuss more meetings? Or are we going to still submit our requests the same way? Who would have that answer? Stoven?
Can I ask you to
clarify?
Yeah, say a little bit more.
So as far as, can anyone go over the process of how we'll be going through that? So the questionnaire, right, we had last time?
I think I can
Am I
take
mixed
you.
up on the process?
I think we can take you through how the process of BSL 3 will work. Is that what you're asking for clarification on? So BSL 3 describes the cadence and the expectations for two things. One is us reporting on our progress against the results policy. And the second is the reporting on the executive limitations. And so what you can see that the main, in fact, maybe even the only changes proposed here is aligning the months of the executive limitations reporting to the month that the information is more readily available. So what will happen is we'll be bringing them, and in fact, you'll see them tonight. The first one is tonight, which is the succession plan. And this creates a clear written record for the board of our performance against each of the executive limitations. In the vast majority, if not all of the cases, what will happen is we'll be reporting that there was no violation of the executive limitation, and the documentation will assure and assert that.
Thank you. There's been a lot of questions on that, so I just
Yes.
Yeah, I think this is most important board policy because, in my opinion, the first line it says the superintendent evaluation is district evaluation. It kind of gives you a kind of sum total of how the district is performing in terms of whether it's the results or within the executive limitation, etc. So it really has to be taken seriously, and because this is like it's like the sum total of everything. And every year we need to do it, and I think it's also required contractually that it has to be done. So this is an important task, and based on the last 5 years of being in this role, I've seen that this really gives you a chance to completely understand how the district works, and it just, because we have only one employee, the superintendent, so it kind of sounds like superintendent performance, but it is actually the sum total of the entire district performance, and which in turn leads to how our children are doing. So it's a very important policy, but perhaps the most important policy and the most important task of our school board. So that's that's what I learned in 5 years. If I'm mistaken, please correct me.
Thank you. At this time, we will take a vote. All in favor of this motion, please raise your hand and say aye.
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 All right. Any opposed? It passes. That brings us to our consent calendar, Superintendent. Do you wish to provide review of any item on the consent calendar?
I do not.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Can I
Yes.
ask one item to be
Microphone.
pulled? Oh, sorry. Chair, can I ask 8B to be pulled aside for a separate discussion?
Okay.
And I move that we make a motion for 8A and C together.
Okay.
I'll second that.
It has been moved and second that we take a vote on 8A and C. All in favor of 8A and C, please raise your hands and say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? So 8A and C pass. Now we'll go to the pulled item. Will you give us more clarification,
Yes,
please?
thank you, Chair. I just wanted to pull this item A8B, approve hands and words are not for hurting proclamation. This is an organization initially started by Dr. Kelly and Mrs. Kelly, and they are doing an amazing work. And I really wanted to pull this because we are watching a lot of violence worldwide and everywhere. And I really wanted to call this out saying our children and families and everybody watches what goes on in the television, in the media, they read about it, they hear about it. And this is a very simple but very powerful way of reminding each one of us that hands and words are not for hurting. I was still wearing one of their bands that Mrs. Kelly gave me. And I really ask that we make this a practice in all our schools. It won't take too long to just ground ourselves and remind us to read the pledge and keep reaffirming every day, because we need to really counter the alternative that we are all watching everywhere. We are bearing witness to a lot of violence worldwide, in our own communities. So this is a very important message, and I didn't want it to be drowned in this consent calendar along with others. So I just wanted to call it out and ask our superintendent to ensure that this is a practice, the least is being followed in all schools. There is no side effects to reciting this pledge. It is only going to give ourselves hope that we can be a pilot lamp for non-violence and peace in this world. So that's the reason I wanted to pull it out.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
I'll be super quick. I got the opportunity to meet Ann Kelly at the Anahuac Farm a couple weeks ago, and it was just wonderful to be in that space, connect with the beautiful blooming sunflowers, and hear a little bit of the story of how this work initiated, and just see how proud and nurtured she is also by the ongoing work and expansion of this, this statement, and more so just the value behind it. So kudos and big gratitude for her work and for bringing this to our district and seeing it across schools. I mean, I remember, I think my little hand is at Holman Elementary with the little quote, hands are not for hurting. So
thank you.
Thank you. Any more discussion?
I'll just add a little. I look forward to being part of the district as we move forward to continue to implement this goal and theory as far as our teachers and keeping them safe and our students individually. So thank you for keeping this as a proclamation.
Thank you. At this time, I need a motion for item 8B.
I do move that we adopt the hands and words are not for hurting proclamation as presented in this board packet.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Okay. It has been moved and second that we adopt hands and words are not for hurting proclamation. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And raise your hand.
Aye.
Any opposed? It has been approved. Thank you very, very much. As a reminder, everything in the Information Standard Report section is provided for the board's review ahead of the meeting. Superintendent, do you have anything to add?
I do not.
Okay. That takes us to our board report section of the agenda, where directors and student advisors share work from formal committee assignments and activities of the board related to youth programs and school district activities since the last board meeting. I'll start with our student advisors, please.
We can come back. Yeah.
I lost my train of thought. I am gonna need a second.
Director Pressey.
Thank you. I'll be really extemporaneous and wordy so our student advisors have time. No, I'm just kidding. Well, there's a couple of things that I wanted to note. Firstly is that on Tuesday, October 15th is National White Cane Safety Day, and it is an annual event to recognize the accomplishments of blind and vision impaired individuals and highlighting the importance of white canes. And I'm going to slow down. I realize that I'm talking fast. And how white canes are a tool, and also an image of freedom for mobility. And in that same vein, I'll transition to the Salem-Keizer Area Transportation Study Policy Committee that I'm on. We met last month and we reviewed the Metropolitan Transportation Safety Action Plan, which analyzed all of the crash data in the area, identified all of the streets and network arterials where crashes occur and what causes those crashes. And I wanted to highlight a couple of things. This action plan can be found on the Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments website if folks want to look it up. But the most common crash types here in Salem are vehicles turning at intersections or in driveways. They account for about 30% of all crashes here in Salem. And 3% of our streets account for over 40% of all traffic deaths, 52% of pedestrian deaths, and 50% of bicyclist deaths. The worst of those streets is Commercial Street, Southeast. I also wanted to highlight that fatality rates in Salem are higher per capita than the city of Portland, the city of Philadelphia, the city of San Francisco, the city of Boston, and the city of New York. Honestly, a lot of this comes from infrastructure decisions, the fact that I think that Commercial Street is the #1 most dangerous street in Salem comes from its design, the amount of curb cuts, the size of the street, and again, the infrastructure decisions of prioritizing vehicles over pedestrians and bicyclists and people being able to walk safely or access transit stops. And I really wanted to make sure that we highlighted this as we had our spotlight on Safe Routes to School. That program is amazing. It's doing amazing work. It's literally teaching kids how to ride bicycles because a lot of children don't know how to ride bicycles because, quite frankly, our infrastructure is not safe enough to allow children to ride bicycles. And I really hope that this sobering data also helps us in the community to realize that in order to keep our children safe, not just from the rising violence that is occurring here in Salem, but also from the very real risk of deaths of just walking out on the street. 52% pedestrian deaths, 50% bicyclist deaths. That doesn't make me feel like a place that I want to walk around in or that I want my kid to ride a bike in. But I want a world where I can walk around and my kid can ride a bike. And to tie it back to White Cane Safety Day, that everyone can safely maneuver in this city. Thank you.
Thank you. Sophia?
Thank you for giving me time to brainstorm for a second. I wanted, first of all, to remind all parents to remind their student about getting letter of recs out for college stuff, which is currently what Kaden and I have been working on, or hopefully taking up the majority of our priorities, which is weird that we're adulting. I just wanted to put that thought out. And then commenting on something that was said maybe at earlier sessions about weapons detectors, just from a student perspective, that although sometimes it can be annoying when like my umbrella sets it off and it makes me a little late to class, I would rather it be extra safe and set off for my umbrella, because then it means it can definitely get a gun, instead of just not getting my umbrella and not getting a gun and not having that extra barrier of safety. And at South, we actually recently had the little, it was like a new way of doing it. Instead of with the metal detectors, it was like a little baggage claim sort of situation, and that worked really well. And I heard that a lot of our staff really enjoyed that process as well, because it kept that same interaction of like being able to say good morning, but it just made the process a whole lot faster. Even though we only had one line instead of our typical 2 lines for our metal detectors, it still seemed to work very efficiently. And then I have recently, this last year, I was in charge of running, or I guess like the student manager for fundraising for the Special Olympics Unified Polar Plunge at South. And just wanted to, even though it's very, very far away, that the Polar Plunge and just the Unified program and Special Olympics program in general are truly the best program I have ever had the opportunity to get involved in. And that whenever the occasion comes to buy awesome merch or to participate in events like the Saxon Cup or the Ole Cup or bigger statewide events, I will definitely be mentioning those. And that's all I have for now.
I just want to take the opportunity to acknowledge McKay's resiliency and community, even with the rough past week that McKay has experienced. Our community, I feel like a lot of the students, they're coming together over it. There's a lot of fear, but there's also a lot of resiliency, and there's a lot of commitment to students are sharing their voices more. And I just want to really acknowledge that. It's really cool to see.
Thank you. You want to go next?
Thanks for that, Kaden. I'll be brief. I spent a portion of my Saturday at the Pacific Coast Invitational, which is the marching band contest out at Sprague High School. And it was a joy. It was just a joy. The weather was beautiful. The music was wonderful. The visuals were amazing. And I bumped into Principal Purnell out there from North Salem High School, and just had a quick chat around this is my opinion. I will be blunt about my opinion. And I'm a little biased because I was a cleric guard member back in like freshman year, which my kids think is kind of funny. But our marching band members and everyone out there just put so much time and so much energy. I mean, they work so hard from like summertime to late fall season. It's hot, it's cold, it's wet, it's dry, and I just want to give him big kudos. And the visuals, I mean, if y'all haven't made it out to maybe a football game and watching the marching bands, totally worth it. So beautiful, and our schools did great.
Thank you. Director Harnish?
Yes, I don't have anything necessarily to report in an official capacity. There's been a lot of work happening around early literacy, and so working with many school partners. But I just really wanted to say a huge kudos to the district staff, leadership, principals, and most of all, the students at McKay. In particular for this last week. I mean, it's been really sobering to get the reports that we've received, and it is heartening to see the school community rally around, and then the larger community as well. And it also is really hard, and it doesn't make it right. And I just want to appreciate everything that has been happening to support, most of all, the kids in school. So thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I really appreciate the school counselor and the teachers from Wright Elementary to invite me to sit down and talk to close to 70 kids, I believe. The whole room was full. I lost count. And the director, and they wanted to know about how I became a psychiatrist, so I had to start from there. And they all wanted to share something in different languages, so we got to hear in different languages after that. And I think it was wonderful to practice belly breathing with all those kids and to see how simple but very profound effect it has when these kids are all kind of sitting there and wanting to know. And I heard that they were having some follow-up questions from the counselor. So that was a good experience. The second part, I just wanted to kind of share, on October 19th in IK Box between 1 to 4, we're going to have a workshop. It's free for anybody to attend and everyone to attend by Braver Angels of Oregon. And we have started a chapter in Salem, bringing people together, bringing different ideologies together to depolarize ourselves for the sake of our children and community. So October 19th, 1 to 4 in IK Box. Show up, let your friends and family know, and let's kind of bring people with different ideas and different ways of approaching together. And that's what I wanted to share. And we will be there as part of Braver Angels of Salem, and we look forward to more such opportunities in the following months where we can really practice an experiential way of bringing different communities, different perspectives together. And we need that badly. Thank you.
We have a priority on attendance as a state and a school district. Attendance is so important. I'm asking all parents, please, please, please encourage your students to be at school. And I know safety is a concern. That's the reason we are celebrating Hands and Words Are Not for Hurting. When you see something, please say something. Tell a trusted adult so that it can be handled. When you see something, say something, and allow trusted adults to take action. I also want to give a huge shout out to our safety team and department for all of the work they've done these last few weeks. Done outstanding work, and there's more work to come, and we're looking forward to continuing to work with them. I have nothing else for tonight, so we will adjourn this meeting at 7:38. Thank you.